So like I said, I lived in Magoffin County at this time, and my brother had called. He lived on what was called Gifford, was a road, and we started. We always raised horses and stuff together, and he called me and said he had a stud horse that got out of the fence, and was very unlikely for this horse to ever break out of the fence. I thought it was strange. So I make my way to his house. I'm about 15 minutes away, and he lives up this gravel road. It's kind of not really isolated off from everybody, but there's probably maybe 2 houses at the max that's up this road. So I get up there, and it's about around 5 or 6 o'clock of the evening. I help him get the horse up, and I'm on my way back home. I'm coming down this gravel road, and my previous wife, my ex-wife's boy, was with me. He was about 5 years old at the time. He was in the back seat. We're coming down this gravel road, and I'm not really paying attention, and all of a sudden, probably 75 to 100 yards in front of me, come out of this hayfield, which had to cross a pretty good sized creek there, come out of the hayfield, and across the road stood this 7 to 8 feet tall, hairy creature. It probably is around black, reddish, I'm going to call color. I could tell that it was matted up looking. It had this dome-shaped head, and I never really got into Bigfoot, so that kind of threw me off at first. And before I said a word, that 5-year-old boy said, "Is that Bigfoot?" And how he noted, I have no idea. I don't know if he maybe seen the Sasquatch commercial, the beef jerky commercials. I don't know what he's seen, but he said it first. And I look up, and I hit my brakes, and there stood this thing. And when it come across the road, it really wasn't running per se. It was kind of a fast walk, and it turned around and looked at me real fast, probably 5 seconds. And then it hit a what I call a bluff, just a straight up hill. And it happened so quick. It was the strangest thing I ever seen. My heart was racing. I was like, I just seen a Sasquatch. That's what I seen. And not just me, but this 5-year-old boy. But that was my encounter. That, like I said, he's about 7,500 yards from me when he crossed the road. Come out of a hayfield, probably come out of the creek. I'm not sure, but it was right there. It was the strangest thing I ever saw.
When it looked at you, can you see any details of the face?
Honestly, it happened so fast that I would be lying if I said I did. The only thing I could see was like the matted hair, just a real long hair. I've heard people's different encounters, and they talk about, humongous long arms and all that stuff. I mean, this thing was huge, but it wasn't like its arms was hanging to its, ankles or anything like that. It was just if you took just a big old gorilla and just stuck him in front of me, it was the dangest thing I ever saw. And it made me a believer right then. But as far as seeing his features of his face, it was a real quick turn, look at me, and then probably 7,500 yards. So I really couldn't tell what its face was, just the hair and just the size of it.
Okay. And now people, they ask, could this have been a bear or a person?
Well, I'll say this, and I've explained this to several people. That's, of course you're going to run into people that are non-believers, and that's fine. People's, that unless they see things themselves, they're really not going to believe it. But I worked in a veterinarian field for about 8 years. I'm an outdoors person. Been in the woods most of my life, horse riding, deer hunting. I know what a black bear is. And quite frankly, if somebody can show me a bear that can run across the road on 2 legs, I want to see it. But I know what I saw, and it wasn't any animal that I've ever seen before. I know it's hard to estimate, but I know it's at least 7 to 8 foot tall. and this thing was human-like. So there's no way that it wasn't, it was some kind of animal that's around here. I believe in my heart wholeheartedly that it's a Bigfoot. I know what I saw. And like I said, I've explained it over the years, and I have talked to people that's seen several, but they're afraid to come out and say what they saw because people think they're crazy.
Yeah, that happens a lot. But you, because I met you at the presentation recently, and when I met you, you showed me the Bigfoot tattoo on your arm. Can you explain what motivated you to get that tattoo on your arm?
Well, I kind of like to be different, and that's so many years I've tried to explain that story to people, and like I said, they just don't want to hear it, or they don't believe. They laugh at you. And if I could take that image that I've got, and I see it plain as day, still to this day, but I decided that, I want this tattoo on my arm to remind me of that creature, because not everybody gets to witness something like this. I've drove around. Every time I'm in a car, I'm looking up in the sky for a UFO. I've been looking for years. Man, I just want to see a UFO. And I've had people, try to tell me their stories of UFOs and some of the paranormal things they've seen. I get to say I seen a Bigfoot, and so that inspired me to put this tattoo on my arm.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now, I didn't ask you, but the tattoo on your arm, is that a representation of what you saw?
That's exactly what I saw. That dome-shaped head. I wish that I would have been closer. And I guess that's just the way it worked out. But I wasn't close enough to see its exact face. I wished I was, but I wasn't. It's about 175 to 100 yards away from me. And when I seen this thing, I locked my car up in shock. And honestly, it's been 12 years, and my mind's just about gone. But I don't even know if I had a cell phone with me at the time, because I get that a lot. Why didn't you take a picture? But I also explained to people that, even with one of these iPhones in my pocket, if I did see something like that again, I don't think I could get my phone out and take a picture that quick. Now, some of these people that may take selfies all the time, they might be able to do it, but I'm not technology smart with this stuff. But there's a lot of people, there's no way that you could get your phone out and record something like this that fast. It's just not possible.
Yeah, exactly. I hear that from a lot of witnesses that said they even had their cell phone in their hand, but it happened so quick, and they're trying to process what they're looking at, and by the time they try to process it, the creature's gone. So, sure. That doesn't bother me, those skeptics out there. They're always going to be closed-minded. But when it turned and looked at you, can you describe the way it turned?
Yeah, it was, so it'd be hard to explain, but the way it pivoted, so when it come across this gravel road, and when I say a gravel road, it's not even a 2-lane road. Like if you met another car, you would have to get over and kind of in the grass or in the field to get by. But when it come across this road, and it was moving pretty fast, not what I would call a run, but probably a steady gait through there, just a pace. And when it stopped, it might not even been 5 seconds. It was so quick when it turned. It stopped, and then just kind of real fast in a pivot, just kind of turned and looked at the car. I don't even know it looked at me, but it looked at the car, turned, and then hit the hill. So just kind of a fast, turn around real fast and then hit the hill,
Can you remember when it pivoted, did it turn just its head, or did it turn its upper body?
Both, really. It turned its body, not its whole body, just probably from the waist down, and head kind of cocked to the side and kind of looked at me real fast. So it was more or less not its whole body, just from the waist up. It made a quick turn, just like you're standing still and just kind of looking behind you.
Yeah. Did it do that before, during, or after you stopped?
No, it done that after I stopped. It was when it was crossing the road. When I looked, I don't remember what I was doing, but like I said, the boy had seen it first, and when he said it, then I looked up and seen it, and then when I locked my brakes up, because I really fast, like a deer would cross the road on you, and I locked it up, so I'm sure gravels was flying and all that stuff. But when he made it halfway across the road and I locked it up, that's when he turned around and looked. So it was like he wasn't paying attention to me until I locked the car up, if that makes sense.
Yep. And you mentioned it came from a field, and it went across the road and went up an embankment. And you mentioned to me about going up that embankment. Can you describe how it went up that embankment?
Well, it come out of that hayfield. And when it come out of that hayfield and across the gravel road, the hillside that was to my left is straight up and down. I mean, it's just what we call a goat's face, just straight up and down. But when it hit that hill, I rolled my window down and listened to it, just like a D9 dozer went through that hill. But when it went up that hill, it happened so fast that I couldn't even see it. So if it went up that hill, it had to be knocking trees down and everything because it was gone. But it hit that hill so fast, it was like it never even hesitated to climb that hill. The strangest thing about this whole encounter, and I was actually talking to my wife about it today, was after I put two and two together, this is what's strange about the whole encounter, is my brother calling me for one and saying his horse got out, because this horse that he owned at the time, this stallion, has been raised in a paddock or behind a fence all of his life, and the horse is really good temperament. Never had trouble out of this stud horse at all, and like I say, he's been kept up all of his life behind a fence, and then for him to just bust out of this fence, which is probably, my brother's driveway from where I seen this was maybe 200 yards. But anyway, after I got to thinking about it, I thought, man, this is strange that this stud horse broke out of this fence, because there's no other horses around. There was no other mares around. The stud horse was by himself in a fence at my brother's house, and for him to break out, and he'd done this several times. But I don't know if that's correlated together or if it's just a coincidence, but I want to say that maybe this horse was spooked. He sensed this Bigfoot, something, because after it was said and done, I never put two and two together. Actually, until a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about this. I thought, man, this is strange that this horse broke out of this fence. And my brother called me to come and help him, because this has never happened before. And like I said, I don't know if it's something that's just a coincidence or if this horse sensed this Bigfoot or something and broke out. You know what I mean?
Yep. And when you said it broke out, did it break the fence or the gate, or did it jump over? Oh
no, he busted through the fence. And it's not been it happened several times after that as well.
And where did the horse end up when it busted out?
Well, the first time, he probably ended up, I don't know, probably 300 or 400 yards down over a hill, not too far from my brother's house. The second time he busted out, he actually went probably a good mile or 2 miles down the blacktop, down to what we call Old 460 that goes into West Liberty. But he went farther this time when he broke out the second time. But like I said, it's strange for this horse that he had to do that, because he's so well-tempered, his great manners. I mean, the horse had never done anything like that ever. So I thought it was strange that he busted out like that. Not just got out or seen a place in the fence to get out, but actually busted through the fence. Did
the horse do that later, another time?
Yes, he done that several times.
Oh, even after.
Even after my encounter.
Okay. Yeah, there's no telling. They do get spooked, fairly easy with large predators nearby. So it could be. Can we go back to the Bigfoot real quick?
Yeah.
You mentioned the shape of the head. Can you describe the shape of the head again?
So it looked like to me, I wouldn't call it a cone head, but it kind of had like a round. It kind of went up and had like a dome shape at the top of it. Really, like I said, it's not really a cone shape, but more like a dome. Not very big, but kind of raised up. I didn't see a whole. Well, like I said, when he turned around, I couldn't see the features of the face, but there wasn't a ton of hair on the face. But the body had long hair, and like I said, I've raised horses all my life, so I see these horses that have like they get that long winter coat and they get matted, and that this thing looked like it had mats all over it. But he was, and like I said, it was probably like this brownish reddish color, really dark, like maybe brown with a red tint through it. But the head, as far as the head, had this cone shaped head, like a dome at the top of it.
Also, when it ran across the road, can you describe the way it ran? In
long strides. Like I said, I don't want it to sound like it was running like we would run, but it took long strides. Like I said, the road is not very wide, but it didn't take him long to get across it. Once I seen him, he was just coming, or him or her, whatever it was, come across that hayfield, and when it stepped on the gravel, it was just like the blink of your eye. He was already across the other gravel. When he got almost to the other side of the gravel road, that's when he stopped, pivoted, looked at me, and then hit the side of the hill. So it was more or less, it was long strides, but not a run, if that makes sense. It just happened so quick.
Was he running hunched over or upright?
He was upright. He wasn't hunched over.
Okay. And the arms, when he was running, can you describe the motion of the arms?
Yeah, they was kind of just dangling, because he really didn't have his arms up, or I don't know what it was, but they was kind of dangling, just kind of, maybe what I can remember is his hands was kind of turned back, if you would just like he was going to cup your hands, and when he was making them long strides, it was like he was just swinging his arms as he was going across that road. Yeah,
that's typical, and even the hands cupped backwards is very common, from witnesses. After this happened, what did you do? How did you feel immediately after this happened?
Well, whenever it happened, I was shocked. Of course, I was kind of dumbfounded about the whole thing, because I was really talking to myself. I was like, Nathan, did you really just see this? And then, I've got this 5-year-old boy in the back seat who actually seen it before I did. So on. This is me and his mom. He's divorced now, and I've never asked him about it ever since then. I've never said, hey, do you remember that? But as a 5-year-old boy, I don't remember what I did at 5. But I was really dumbfounded when I seen it. I was really shocked, and I don't even know that I told anybody for a while, for the fact of people's going to say you're crazy or make fun of you or whatever, or go back to what everybody says if you've seen a bear, which I have that a lot too, and I just laugh at people. I'm like, man, if you don't know what a bear looks like, then you're pretty messed up, because everybody knows what a bear looks like. But it's like I said, I was really shocked when I first seen it. But now it really, this one guy that told me about his encounter, when he tells me about his story, he says he gets chill bumps up him, and he really has this shaky, scared tone to his voice when he tells the story. To me, when I tell my story, I'm excited about it. Like I wish I could go back, because there's things that I believe that I would do. Like maybe if I had a cell phone, I would try to get it out, or I would try to, but it happened so fast. I don't know that I could have anyway, but I'm very excited about it now, because I want to let people know, because around here, people knows I ain't crazy. I mean, we're well-established musicians. People knows that I ain't crazy. And some of the people that has told me their stories are very legit people as well. I've got doctors and lawyers that I know that have seen these things. So, to me, they're real. To me, they're out there. And like I said, I've got this painted in my brain, and I wished I could just take it out and just show people that these things are real. That I actually, we went and watched your presentation, and I bought your book, and I love it, by the way. It has explained things to me that I've wondered for years, and it's helped me a lot just by researching things over the years that can't be explained because of all the hoax stuff that's really out there right now. So I love your book, by the way. It's helped me a lot.
Well, thank you. You said you talked to other witnesses. Are these witnesses in Kentucky?
They are. I know that I looked at your map on encounters and sightings and things like that, and there was some around West Liberty, I believe. But one of the doctors that I worked for about 8 years, very outstanding person, top of his class, veterinarian, smart guy. He tells me a story when he was about 10 years old, and seen one. He was riding a little dirt bike across the hayfield, and what he thought he seen was a big row of hay, just this big rotted looking row of hay in the field. And he said this thing stood up. I guess it had its back turned to him, stood up and looked at him. The two counters that I know of happened in West Liberty, and then the other one is one I believe was happening in West Virginia.
Okay. That doctor, are you still in contact with him?
Sure, absolutely. I talk to him every day.
Okay. I would love to document his encounter. And also, you said he hears tree knocks. Does he live in the same area that he saw it? Does he hear tree knocks to this day?
But if I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look through my phone. He texted me about 2 weeks ago, and he says when he sits out around his campfire, he's got this big fire pit at his house, and he'll go out there at night. And he says he hears these tree knocks, and he'll call me. He'll be like, "Dude, I just heard tree knocks, like behind my house." It's not where he's seen the encounter at, but this is another place. But he says that he hears these fairly often.
I missed it. How far does he live now from his first encounter?
Oh, it's probably 15 minutes. It's on the opposite end of town. Same county, West Liberty, Kentucky. Yeah, in Morgan County.
I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us, and hopefully people will hear this and more people will come forward with their encounter.
Well, I sure appreciate you all taking the time as well, and I appreciate you doing everything that you do research-wise to bring all these people's stories and encounters to life. So we appreciate you all as well. I'm tickled to death to share my story with you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you again. Have a good night.
You too, buddy.